One would think that, as maddened as they are by religious zeal and brain-eating poxes, the plague monks of Clan Pestilens would be less prone to innovation than the rest of their kin. Alas, the crazed ingenuity of the Skaven race is found among the plague priests of Pestilence as surely as it is among the warlike engineers of Scryer and the master molders of Moulder. Most of their creative energy is funneled into the brewing of new plagues, but on occasion a particularly bright plague monk will create a new way to spread their diseases. The most terrifying of these is the dreaded Plague Censer, a flail designed to spread deadly airborne pathogens in a sickly green fog cloud over the battlefields of the old world. A plague censer constantly emits a light cloud of noxious fog, which increases in intensity when swung. The vapor released when a plague monk does this is incredibly dangerous. A magically enhanced pathogen is tied to the smoke, becoming exponentially more deadly and faster acting than the base strain. Physicians within the Empire have suggested the disease in question was once similar to pneumonia, but the plague priests have mutated the initial disease to be even more ghastly. Being exposed to a mild dose of the fog instantly raises nasty sores and pus-filled blisters on a victim's skin. Inhaling it is much, much worse. Those unfortunates who breathe in the green cloud drown on dry land, their lungs filling with their own liquefied organs. Even those who somehow survive this experience are left with debilitating wounds that continue to plague them for years to come. Plague censers are only used by the warriors of Clan Pestilens and its vassal clans, as even other Skaven shy away from these devices. When they wish to make a new one, plague priests will take heavy iron flails deep into their layers and begin the process of consecrating them in the name of the Horned Rat. Unholy passages from the Liber Bubionicus are chanted aloud, while a piece of warpstone is placed within the weapon's hollow head. As the incantations reach their peak, a ladle of plague brew is drizzled over the warpstone. The noxious fluid bubbles and hisses at the warpstone's touch, letting off the weapon's characteristic foul vapor. At this point, the plague censer is completed. A particularly fervent plague monk is then given the censer to wield in battle, where it acts as both an enchanted flail and a biological weapon. Receiving a plague censer is an immense honor, and Skaven are known for murdering each other for the privilege. As terrifyingly effective as plague censers are, they do have some notable shortcomings. First and foremost, the disease-laden smoke it releases is so potent that only the most exalted plague monks of Clan Pestilens are immune to its effects. Most plague monks do not benefit from this protection. Their flesh will boil and their organs will melt like any other living creature that spends too long among the fog clouds, though this can drive the putrid beasts into a state of religious ecstasy. While they're far more resistant to the ill effects of the plague censer than their enemies, sustained use will kill the Skaven as surely as their foes. Thus, if a force can somehow outlast the censer bearers, the plague monks will eventually wipe themselves out with their own pathogens. The second saving grace of plague censers is that they are absolutely useless in creating a pandemic. The process of empowering a disease with warpstone increases its lethality by 1,000-fold and decreases its onset time to mere seconds, but it also burns out the plague's ability to spread independently of the plague censer. When the fog cloud lifts, the region remains uncontaminated. Creatures who were exposed aren't contagious, letting medics aid them without fear of infection. While Clan Pestilens has many other ways to create a long-lasting and far-ranging epidemic, we should count ourselves lucky that plague censers are not among these methods. In Total War Warhammer, plague censers are, fittingly enough, carried by plague monk censer bearers. They give their users the magical attack and contamination special abilities, letting them do full damage to enemies with physical resistance and bestowing a -10 leadership penalty to enemies they hit respectively. The heavy iron flail heads also gives them a large armor-piercing weapon strength. All in all, the censers make plague monks even better at being glass cannons, a task that they already excel at. It would be neat if, to represent the cloying fog banks of misery plague censers emit, plague monk censer bearers had an additional ability that was a bit more interactive than what they currently have. In my head, it would be a small-range, activatable mortis engine effect that would hurt both you and your enemies. Your enemies would take more damage per second, but any of your units within the radius would also take a bit of damage. It would make the censer bearers a bit more interesting than what they currently are. You'd have to think about it. Is this damage I'm doing going to be worth more than the damage I'll take? If nothing else, it would feel very Skaven-y to accidentally destroy a very valuable unit of yours because you just overestimated how much the trade-off would be. With those closing thoughts out of the way, that'll bring us to the end of our overview of plague censers. The more deep dives I do on Skaven lore for you guys, the more unsure I am over which Skaven clan I find the grossest. Clan Molder really had a lock on that position for a while there, but going into intense detail over what exactly fighting Clan Pestilens entails? No thank you. I'll just get eaten by a rat kaiju. All you Skaven fans really ought to be ashamed of yourselves, honestly. Anyways, since shaming the viewers is always a good note to end on, I'd like to take this chance to remind you to like, subscribe, and comment on the video if you enjoyed watching it. Every little bit helps the algorithm do its inscrutable magic. That's all I have for the moment, though, so until next time, this has been Sigmar Has Chosen, signing off for now.